Welcome here to the Kingsmen Corner. Another week, another episode here. I'm Griffin Leonard with Coach Joe Hudak. We're going to chat with the team chaplain, Lincoln Lyon, later on in the show today. But, Coach, just checking in. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, man. I'm recovering a little bit. We've been pretty busy over the last couple of weeks on the road. We've been road warriors, so had a couple of days to rest up here. So yeah, it's been good. It's been good. I'm enjoying
Yeah.
the off time.
Yeah, it certainly has been busy. A great trip in Houston,
Yeah,
getting back this last Wednesday, but a long trip. I know everybody's a little bit exhausted. A couple days off are always worth it.
absolutely. And it was a really good trip, and really glad we made it. And a lot of good things happened. We let one game get away from us, but outside of that, a really good trip. I was pleased with it. It was smooth. The boys were good all the way, and so no issues with anything like that. Everything went through the airport really well, and so really proud of our guys. We've traveled a lot this year. Went to the Dominican, went to Houston, and everywhere we've gone, we've gotten really good reviews. People come up and say, "Hey, how nice your boys are," and so. That's very meaningful to me. So yeah, it was a good trip.
Yeah, second longest trip of the season outside of the Dominican Republic trip back in January. Just wondering, from your perspective, obviously you do a lot more for Kingsman baseball than just coach the teams, right? As everybody knows, you're going through making those travel plans, coordinating everything from buses to hotels to everything that goes into that trip. As far as planning something like this, especially when it's away from the league, just kind of, I guess, let us into the craziness of what it takes to pull off a trip like we just were on.
Well, the first thing is the contacts, and so back when we started, we weren't going to be in a league. We were a probationary team, so we had to make our whole schedule, and so that's really whenever actually Jay Stott from Pro 5 introduced me to Greg Bennett. Although I had met Greg a long time ago, he actually was an assistant coach at Auburn when I coached at Winthrop, and we played each other, and so when. When Jay gave me his contact information, said, hey, he was starting a new academy in Texas. They were looking for games as well. I mean, initially when we were going to be an independent, so to speak, we had to fill our whole schedule. So, I reached out to Greg, and I found out that we knew each other. We had coached against each. He's a great Christian guy, and said, hey, we got to make this work. So they agreed to, pay for our lodging. So they paid for our hotel while we were out there, and we paid for all the rest. And they were really good. I mean, that was one of the things for me, going out there. Anytime we travel, like when I was at Winthrop, if we were going to travel and spend $10,000, $20,000 on a trip, right, it was going to be against somebody that was good, right? And the Bennett Academy is really good. You saw it. I mean, they had at least six Division I players. Three Texas A&M commits, one Texas commit, one Oklahoma State commit. They were really good. But we held our own against them, even though we were down a couple of pitchers. So yeah, so that's kind of how it started. And then after that, we go back and forth, find a date. We had an original date, and then when we joined the league, we couldn't play on that date. So I reached out to him, and said, hey, we can't play that date. Can we play this other date? And he made it work because they were busy as well. They were playing in a tournament the weekend before we got there, and they have a conference series the weekend after. So they just kind of squeezed us in there. And a lot of work went into making the trip happen. And then obviously logistics of the flight and the bus and vans and all of that. But you know, I love doing it. I love taking our guys different places. I think it's great for them to experience. We talked when we got home on a bus. You were on the bus. Whenever I talk, how blessed we are, man. I mean, really, you look at our guys and you think, okay, I could be back at my high school, say in Ohio, and maybe I've played 5 games so far, right? I mean, we're 22-12. We played 34 games already. We've been to the Dominican, we've been to Houston. My gosh, it's such a blessing. I'm so blessed just to be part of it, as well as the guys. So, it's just been I know you can't tell it, but I've been really pleased with with the academy and the experience we've had both on the field and spiritually and in all ways.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm sure everybody listening is as well. Obviously, it is a blessing to be able to go out there and have quality competition on the road, get the team to bond together even more as we've seen over the course of the year. I guess what I'm curious about, you mentioned the Bennett School is a first year academy, just like we are.
Yeah.
Do you foresee this series as being maybe something that we play again in the future? Maybe we could even get them out to Charlotte.
I think so. Yeah, they're actually it's kind of crazy. So we were going to be in the NAA. The old league was the NAA, the National Academy Association. Well, when the new league started, the ABA, there were two teams that were in the NAA that didn't join the ABA. They restarted the NAA, and the Bennett Academy is actually in the NAA now. It's a very loosely held league. I think there's two teams in North Carolina, one in Tennessee, two in Texas, two in Arizona. So, they don't play everybody. Obviously, the travel would be a nightmare. But they are actually coming out here later on in May, I think, to play Pro 5. And yeah, Greg and I talked about it. It was a good trip for us. I think it's a trip we want to do at least every other year. And maybe they come out here. Maybe we just trade on and off. I think we both felt that the competition was really good. And, both faith-based academies. And so we have a lot in common. So, yeah, I think so, Griff. I mean, I really enjoyed the trip. Other than, we lost, we were up 6-4 in one of the games and in the last inning gave a three spot. Other than that, man, it was a great trip.
Absolutely. Another thing that this trip kind of did, looking at the calendar where we are in the ABA season, is it almost kind of served as the halfway point of our spring, gave us a chance to break from the ABA and kind of reset and restock as we get ready for, the grueling last month and a half of the season. Obviously, as you well know, being a fellow baseball guy, it's a big week in the baseball world for a certain season starting,
Mhm.
but this week kind of served as our halfway point, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't really pay that much attention to the schedule until, I've been doing some work here and a couple of days off, and realized it is just about in the halfway point. And so, yeah, I think it's been really good. I'm really excited about the second half of the season. We've got a lot of games. Obviously, we have another round robin series the last week of the regular season. And then certainly, May 11th through the 15th is the ABA championships over at Lake Point. Every Every academy, all 13 academies will be there. Every level will be there. So that's going to be a great time. So yeah, we were talking to Preston, we were hard to believe we're halfway through already. It seems like we just started and we're almost halfway done, but it's been really good.
Of course, we have a really big series coming up this next week. You've told me a couple times, Coach, that you hate to lose, right? And of course, playing DSC on the road a couple weeks ago, the Kingsmen prospect team wasn't able to win in Richmond, Virginia. The
Yeah.
nice thing about that, the silver lining, is they come right back here. What are you excited for that series?
Yeah, I think so. They're a good club. We knew going in they had three really good arms. That we knew we were going to face. They're well coached. I thought we lost all three games, but I really thought we played well enough to win two of them. I mean, I really think I was trying to think back. I can't remember a 3-game series where we were as unlucky as we were in the first two games. And I mean, literally just hit balls hard that were caught. They would bloop balls and swing and bunts, and just seemed like everything went against us. And so hopefully, yeah, well, hopefully we can turn the tables. They're a good club. Obviously, we'd love to certainly win 2 out of the 3 against them for sure, if not sweep them. But you can't play with oh man, we got to get them back or something like that, right? You can't do that. You got to just be ready to play and play your game. And but we're excited about it. They'll be here for 3 games. On Tuesday and Wednesday, and hopefully we can get a little of that payback.
Yeah, hungry for revenge, as they say.
Think so, yeah, I think so.
We had a couple of pitchers on the prospect side that weren't able to pitch in Houston. Just wondering if there's any injury updates maybe you can give us, anything regarding the availability of a couple of our arms.
Yeah, I think Noah Entrican didn't pitch it. His back's been bothering him the last couple of outings. We thought it was just best, to give him some time off. We had a couple other guys who I think are arms been bothering him a little bit. Same thing with them. So I think we're going to have Noah back this week. So, obviously we missed him. When your number one can't pitch against a really good club, that's going to hurt you. But hey, I was real pleased with the way we threw. I think Kaysen Young threw really well in the first game. I mean, threw I think 4 innings, gave up 1 run, and threw really well. I don't think he walked anybody. Maybe walked a guy. That's been his problem. He threw really well. Tristan threw well. So yeah, we missed Noah, but I think he'll be back this week.
Of course. On the varsity side of things, 3 games for them as well. A new opponent, at least a couple of new opponents actually. Grace Academy on Monday, and then a road series at Pro 5 up in Durham, as you mentioned, an opponent of Bennett's. What have you seen out of Grace Academy? Maybe a little bit about them for those who aren't familiar.
Be honest with you, I don't know much about them. I honestly don't. One of the things when we joined the ABA, the problem for the varsity team was that they don't have as many teams in our northern division, so there aren't as many league games. So we've got to fill in, right? And so the coach from Grace Academy actually reached out to me. I actually recruited his son, who's a really good player for them. He chose to stay at the academy, so I had a little bit of a connection with the coach, and he reached out and said, "Hey, are you interested in playing?" And I said, yeah, we needed some games, and Pro 5 been trying as soon as we started, been trying to get games with them, and originally we weren't able to play on this coming Thursday, but things opened up for them, and we're able to go up there and play. So we got 3 games for the varsity and 3 games for the prospect team. So it's going to be a really good and busy week for us. And then we're going to have another nice weekend off, Easter weekend. We're giving them the week. We hope they get to go home and, celebrate the uh, death and resurrection of our Savior, man. And, I think it's the most important weekend in the Christian faith right now, even greater than Christ's birth, where his willingness to die for us and his resurrection. So we're going to celebrate that next weekend for sure.
Yeah, Palm Sunday this weekend, Easter Sunday the weekend after, and some time off from games while we're at it. It sounds like a couple of weekends to savor and enjoy.
For sure, for sure. And our guys have worked really hard. And like I said, we've been on the road a lot the last 2 weeks. So, giving them this weekend off and then next weekend off for Easter because, once that's over, we're going to be pretty busy the rest of the way.
Yeah, one more thing I wanted to ask you. The ABA has rules as far as the rosters go, and I know an important deadline's coming up on Monday, where you guys have the chance to send in new rosters. And I believe, if I'm right, that the number of floaters decreases by one as well. Just wondering what the decision-making process is for you and the staff regarding those changes.
Well, yeah, and you're right. Everything that all of you said, all that you said there is correct. The new rosters are due on March 30th, and then we have one more time, actually May 5th, right before the conference championship, where the final rosters are in for that. So, I really like that. That the idea that the ABA gives us a chance to adjust our rosters because a lot of times going into a season, you don't really know, who's going to perform when the lights are on, right? There's 5 o'clock hitters and then there's 7 o'clock hitters, right? Right. 5 o'clock hitters, they can hammer the ball in BP, but when the lights come on at 7, maybe they're not doing it quite as well. And so, I think it has given us a good amount of time to evaluate who we have, right? And you're correct in that the number of floaters does go down from 7 to 6. And so we've been talking all along about hey, what adjustments we want to make, but we'll talk a lot more this weekend and finalize that. I think there's probably going to be some guys who maybe played better than we expected, right? Or maybe there's a need with an injury or something where we need to, move guys around a little bit. So all of that goes into the deliberations as you try to figure out what's best for both teams. So we'll do that this weekend, and we have to turn that roster in on Monday, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, of course, and obviously, all these guys are jostling for playing time. They're fighting to be at the highest level they possibly can be. How does that, especially with the rosters changing over the course of the season, kind of help promote, I guess, healthy competition between the players?
Yeah, I think everybody wants to play at the highest level and play the most number of games and all of that. I think our guys have learned that the competition is pretty good with both teams, and I think one of the really, really good things that us having two teams has allowed us to do is everybody's getting a lot of at bats. Everybody's getting a lot of innings. It's not like there's not any pitcher that hasn't pitched, a lot. And there's really not many hitters that haven't hit a lot, on one team or another. And then the floaters, sometimes they play for both teams, so they're getting more experience. So I think that's been really good. And everybody's competing. But one of the neat things about this club, and I think Preston's alluded to it several times, he's been part of a lot of clubs. Obviously, I've coached a lot of clubs. This club is really close. The culture on this club is really good, and I think everybody pulls for everybody. Yeah, everybody would like to start all the time at the highest level, but I think we all pull for each other. I think a big reason for that is the fact we live together. All 31 of us are living in the same place. I think the fact that we're faith-based and we're trying to be men of character and not just selfish guys. I think that's helped. So it's been really good and it's all good. The competition is good. I mean, we talk when we're recruiting kids, we say, hey, I think that how do you get better? Well, number one is the quality of your instruction, right? Who's coaching you? Who's teaching you the game? Number two, it's the quality of your competition, right? You don't get better playing the Elmira old folks home, right? You get better playing good competition, but it isn't just a competition you play against. It's also the competition you play with. All of these kids, all of our guys were the guy in high school, right? So, they were pretty much the guy. Well, now you got 31 guys that were the guy, and now they're just one of the guys. And so that competition inward is also really important. And I think that helps us get better as well and helps guys get better. There's guys on our club that know, hey, if I'm not performing, then I might sit next game because we got a lot of good players. So it's all healthy, all good, and again, we got such a great group of guys. I'm just so proud of them.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious to see how the rosters shape up this next week, and then how things go
I
from
am
there.
too.
Yeah, right.
I am
It's a
too.
process for everybody.
We're going to have a discussion, and there might be a little arguing. I'm sure there was when we made the first, healthy argue.
Yeah,
Guys.
I'll stay out of it. I'll stay out
Yeah,
of it.
yeah, you're going to be out of it if you can announce it. But it's cool. I think that's as a head coach, you don't want guys that are just going to be yes men, right? You want guys that are going to be willing to speak their mind and speak up for their players or whatever it might be. Obviously, I have the final call, but that's all good and healthy, and we're going to have that this weekend.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, happy opening weekend of Major League Baseball. Happy
Yeah,
Palm Sunday, and thanks for joining us as always.
absolutely, Griff. Been a joy to be with you. Always is. Really appreciate you, son.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, we'll talk to you again soon here, Coach. We're going to take a break, come back with Team Chaplain Lincoln Lawing. Excited to have him on for the second time and see how things have been going with him. So stay tuned. We'll be right back here on the Kingsman Corner. Before we continue with the show, I want to give a big shout out to 704 Sports Academy. 704 Sports Academy is a 10,000 square foot fully turf sports facility in Gastonia, North Carolina. The facility features 7 full length retractable batting cages, 2 pitching mounds, and weight room training equipment. Coach Weston Lawing and his staff are committed to the total development of baseball and softball players of all ages in the greater Gaston area, striving to create an enjoyable environment while challenging young athletes both physically and mentally, giving them the tools they need to compete. 704 Sports Academy is a proud partner of the Kingsmen Baseball Academy. Back to the Kingsman Corner. Welcome back here to the Kingsman Corner. We're here with Team Chaplain Lincoln Lawing. Link, I know it's been a little while since you joined us on the show. How have you been doing?
Been doing pretty good, man. Things have been going well. I'm having a good time at the ballpark, and I'm enjoying myself. My wife's like, "Hey, do you have to go to all the games?" I'm like, "No, I don't have to, but I got to hang out with the boys." So we've been having a good time, man. It's been
Yeah,
fun.
you don't have to, but you want to.
100%, dude. I do, man. I do.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you've been enjoying it. I think everybody in the KBA has been really enjoying the way the season's been going and all the fun the team has had together. Have you been up to anything exciting outside of your time with the KBA?
Man, just doing some speaking here and there, getting some stuff lined up for the summer. We've got some ministry opportunities through my organization in Curacao that we've been trying to get lined up. And as you know, with Kingsman, we've done a lot in the Dominican Republic. So that's led to some conversations about doing some stuff in Curacao. So I might make a brief trip down there in April just for a couple of days to meet with some coaches. We've had some calls with the head of Curacao Little League, and man, they're wide open to us having some Christ-like influence in the coaches, doing some clinics. So that's kind of exciting.
Yeah,
It's been pretty cool.
yeah, that sounds really cool. I know we'll miss you if you take off for a week or so, but how often do you get a chance to go down and do those kinds of things, right?
Amen. I tell people, look, if God needs somebody to go to these beautiful Caribbean countries and share the gospel with people at the baseball field, then I'll be down to do it. I can do that. I can be that man. So it's been good, man. It's been good.
Absolutely. That's awesome to hear. You've been able to do a lot of teaching with various groups, but you've been able to help these guys quite a bit with the team chapels and the Bible studies and the work that the players have been doing off the field spiritually. Just kind of for those obviously listening who don't have a chance to be a part of those, maybe one or two things that you've been teaching to the guys recently, a point or two that you've really trying to have been pushing across, so to speak.
Yeah, I think the main thing, we went to the Dominican and some guys got serious about their faith. And so one of the things that we've been talking a lot about is making it our own, right? And so what are the daily disciplines that we can be doing from a scripture and prayer standpoint? So that's been one that we've been talking about a lot because sometimes we overcomplicate it. I do. And what I'm learning is try and teach these guys. Sometimes it's just about man, just small stuff every day. Doesn't have to be, don't have to read the whole Bible, just a little bit here and there. But the other thing we've really been hammering home is having the right people around you and what that looks like. And I know right now we're in an environment where these guys, we're all around each other. We all have a common goal, but there'll be a time they're back at home or on a college campus or with another team. And just trying to instill in them, it's very important wherever you go to have the right people around you, holding you accountable, holding you to these disciplines that have your best interest at heart. And so the best of main things we've been dialing in on is, hey, how do I make this my own? How do I put the right habits in place? And how do I get around the right people and make sure we're doing the right things?
Yeah, that's a really important message. Obviously, these guys are growing up and they're getting introduced into the world and as everybody knows, there's a lot of temptation in the world. There's a lot of things that go against what we're taught to do. Just wondering maybe some advice, some personal experience for you, obviously, as somebody who's spent enough time in the world to kind of have developed your plan and your, I guess, routine and for some of these guys who are maybe a little bit newer to that journey. How have you been able to kind of find some consistency in some of those things?
Yeah, I think it goes back to that accountability piece that we talked about. And I've been, as I share with the guys, and I don't steer away from my past. I've been following Jesus for almost 17 years and was heading in the wrong direction before that. And I think one of the biggest keys for me was having the right people around me. So I think I think one of the things as they mature and as they discern who God's called them to be, one of the pieces of advice is I give them is discern who around them wants the best for them and who doesn't. Because the harsh reality is there are some people in our circle, even at my age, that don't want the best for us. And so it's not necessarily about cutting those people out of your life, but it's just saying, hey, having the wisdom to know who's got your best interest at heart and spending the time around those people. And that's the best advice I give them. And another thing we've talked about is, having that inner circle and not spending so much time worrying about what everybody says. And so I share this Dabo Sweeney quote that he said he does not take criticism from people that he wouldn't take advice from. And so there's so much noise for these guys online, in person, wherever. And so I just think the main thing that I'm telling them that I've learned the hard way is, hey, cut that noise out, have your inner circle, and listen to the people that you want to listen to and be able to drown out the noise from those that don't matter. And I think that leads to life on purpose and a lot more effectiveness to get to what we want to do.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good stuff. You've gotten to spend quite a bit of time with these guys, being in attendance in games. You've been on some trips with us. How have you seen some of these guys grow over the course of the year?
Man, I love being around and I love baseball because just the adversity that you face, the failure that you face all the time. And with all guys this age, dealing with failure is hard because it's a lot of testosterone, hormones, raw emotion, and you're going to have bad days. And so I think what I've been the most excited about was prospect and varsity, whether it be in Statesboro or down in Houston. I've just seen guys have bad at bats, bad outings, and then they continue to come back that day and compete, or they have just a bad game, which happens to all of us. And then they come back and compete the next day. So I've texted a few of these guys, a majority of them individually, said, dude, I'm watching you grow up in real time because it's one thing to learn, but then it's another thing to be able to put that into practice. And we don't do that perfect all the time. But I've seen these guys mature in handling rejection, handling failure, handling adversity, and continuing to compete. Because from a pure baseball standpoint, look, how you can brush off a bad at bat and a bad day is indicative of how you're going to be able to advance to the next level. Because when you're playing in college and you're playing in the pros, you're playing every day. So if you're spending time pouting, you're not getting better. So I've just been really pumped about seeing the way these guys, hey, they get mad and they process it and they move on and they continue to show up and help the team. And that's been really, it fires me up to see that happen because that's when I know, like I told them in Houston, they're growing from boys into men, and I get to see it up close and personal, and it's really fun. It's really fun to see.
Coach Hudak was telling us earlier on in the podcast this week that, the Kingsmen have played 34 games. They're 22-12. Of course, there's 12 losses, pretty good record. We're not debating that. But 12 losses that give you an opportunity to learn a lot, right? Both on the field and then the mental side, like you're talking about. And I'm sure, as you could attest to, as could any former or current player, that mental growth in addition to the growth on the field is so important.
100%. And that's what coach, they do a great job of. I think coach does a good job of attacking the issue, not the person. So after the game, it's just, hey, we're emotionally removed and we're just going through what we messed up on. And so I think these guys are learning, hey, I told him the other day, the pregame verse, I said, hey, Proverbs 26:11, as a dog returns to its vomit, so a fool repeats his foolishness. And the point of that is, hey, when you make a mistake, do not return to that. Learn from it and move on. And so seeing these guys realize that failure is not just failure, it is a learning opportunity. Really cool. Really cool.
Absolutely. Now you were mentioning it earlier that you do quite a bit of speaking outside of the work that you do as chaplain with Kingsman Baseball. You got a chance a couple weeks ago to preach at a local church here in Gastonia. Myself, a few of the guys were in attendance. From your perspective up there on the pulpit, how was that for you?
Man, it was really cool. And we had some plans changed because we were going to go to Richmond right after that. Weather delayed that. So some guys went home and had some injuries to rehab and stuff like that. But a good number of the guys got to come. And I tell you, when I got up there, it was really cool because the sermon was about what I've learned from baseball over the years. And, I think one of the cool things was I always wanted to play in the big leagues, right? I got hurt. I couldn't do that. And that's part of my story. But it led to days like we had last Sunday where I'm standing up there, my family's in attendance, people that I love are in attendance, and I got a bunch of these ball players and you guys sitting there. And I was just overcome with gratitude because I'm like, man, this is what God does. Like I thought I knew what was best for my life. And man, and then God, through what I thought was failure, turned that into what we had a couple of Sundays ago. It was an awesome time. And I think one of the coolest things was afterwards, they fed us. The guys got to hang around a little bit. And the pastor at the church, he had a special needs son, a young fella. And he was kind of skittish about maybe coming and sitting with us or whatever. And man, he kind of walked over there and asked if he could sit. And the guys were so inviting, man. They invited him right up. And dude, little Daniel, he jumped in there and he sat with us and had lunch. And he thought he was one of the guys, dude. So it was just really cool. I was so proud of the guys. it was awesome to preach, and it was awesome to see them and have those people in attendance. But I was proud of the guys, man. They just they represented the organization well. They acted like grown men, very mature, very engaging, and I was proud to say, "Hey, those are our guys right there." And it was a good day. It was a good day. We played a little top golf after that. Oh, and then my daughter and I made a surprise trip to Miami to watch Skeens in the U.S. knock off the Dominican Republic.
I'm still
And
jealous.
that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. It was a great time. And I knew it would be a good game, but I told my daughter if the U.S. was going to lose to anybody, Dominican would make me the less mad. So that's why we went. And it was really cool. And me and my daughter will always remember that. So all around, was it 2 Sundays ago? That was one of those days you don't ever forget. Get to hang out with the boys, preach the word, eat with the fellas, go to Top Golf, take my daughter to Miami to watch World Baseball Classic. Those days don't come around often, and I'm thankful that I got to experience one.
Yeah, from preaching at 10 in the morning in Charlotte to sitting at Lone Depot Park at 7 o'clock in Miami. That's a crazy day.
It was. It was. I told my daughter we came back that early that next morning. I'm like, dude, it was not even a 24-hour trip. I was like, this is like an 18-hour whirlwind. And oh man, it was a good day. It was a good day. Baseball and Jesus, the more of that's in my days, the better they go. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, and that's not the only trip that you've been on with the team. Obviously, you were with us in the Dominican, but you were with us in Houston this last week. How was that trip?
Man, had a good time. I was going down a day late, and one of the smoothest flights down I've ever had, which I was owed one after some delays here and there. But man, had a good time with the fellas. I feel like when I get to travel with the guys, whether it's in the Dominican, Houston, whatever type of road trip, it's like you take 2 or 3 weeks of impact and you get to, man, it's like cram it down into a couple of days, which is good. I mean, because we're having breakfast, we're cramming in the vans, and hanging with the guys in the cage, watching the games, and so it was a really good time. And I think just being able to process life with those guys in real time at the game is really fun. And so good. We saw some good ball down there too, and our guys stepped up. Both squads did, and so that was good to see. Now I do know I got to hang out in the dugout with varsity. I think we were down 9-1 and came back and won 12-11. Had a little barrel party there, and then the Dominican Rocket closed the game out for us. I haven't had that much fun at the ballpark in years, dude. I had an absolute blast hanging with the boys during that comeback, and then going over there to Prospect and hanging out. Houston was a lot of fun. It was a good time, and I'm glad I got to go out there and hang with the fellas for sure.
For sure. It sounds like the season overall has been really, really great for you and everybody that you've gotten to interact with. Anything else you're looking forward to before this spring's wrapping up? I know we're almost to April already.
Man, it's going fast, and I'll be sad when it's over. I do know that. But I'm just looking forward to seeing what happens from here, man. I think that the individual relationships I've got to form with a lot of the guys, knowing their stories, knowing what they've been a part of, knowing what they've overcome, knowing what they're working on. I think at this point in the season, I'm just looking forward to seeing that continue to unfold, because it's like even when I can't get to the games, which is rare, and I watch online, I'm so engaged because every guy that comes up to bat, every guy that comes out there to pitch, man, I know them as a man and what they're working on. And so I'm just looking forward to things continue to unfold. And I've seen guys improve on and off the field in a tremendous way since they've been here. And if they continue at that rate, I'm excited to see what happens between now and mid-May and what happens in the rest of their life, man. So I've got no expectation other than to keep showing up and keep hanging with the boys and having fun and doing what I can to point them in the right direction. And during the close games, try to stay back in the dugout and not get too volatile, because the fire does still arise from time to time. And, I just got to keep it in check. I got to keep it in check. But I'm having fun. telling baseball guys about Jesus and working with them in life. And not to mention getting to hang out with you and seeing with Oz and Preston the growth in them. And even though Coach is like 105 years old, I still see him mature a lot. And so God is good, man. And on the good days, the bad days, I tell the guys, win, lose, or draw, I'd rather go to battle with the Kingsmen than anybody else, man. So I'm looking forward to whatever's in store, man. I'm having a blast. I am.
100%. Busy week again coming up here this week. We got a varsity game tomorrow at Gardner Webb. DSC, the team that we played in Richmond, Virginia, is coming to town Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the varsity team goes to Durham up to play Pro 5. Are you going to be able to join us for any of those games?
Yeah, I will be. I'm looking to be at all of them, at least 80% of them. I hadn't told Coach yet, but my kids are out of school next week, and we're going to Disney World. So I got to get all I can in this week because me and the crew will be hanging next week. And I love you boys a lot, but I'd rather be hanging with my crew in Orlando.
You're
So,
going everywhere.
but yeah, we are. I'm looking forward to this week. Definitely be there tomorrow. Definitely be there, and at least one of the games up in Durham. So looking forward to that. But yeah, I'll be there, man. I'm hooked now. If I can be, I'm going to be there. So
Awesome. Well, appreciate you hopping on here, Link. Great talking to you, and I look forward to seeing you at the games this week.
hey, man, see you soon, Griff. Thanks, buddy. Keep up doing the good work, man, and we'll talk soon, buddy. Thank you.
Sounds good. Well, that will wrap up this week's edition of the Kingsman Corner. For Lincoln Line and head coach Joe Hudak, I'm Griffin Leonard saying so long. Once again, you can catch Kingsman Baseball Academy action starting tomorrow. Grace Academy comes to town for the varsity team, and we look forward to having all of those games live for you on the Kingsman Baseball Network. That'll do it. We'll see you soon here on the Kingsman Corner.